All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Beyond Seven Figures podcast. So, my guest today came referred to me by a gentleman named John Hall, good friend of mine. And when he refers people to me and tells me, hey, Charlie, this person is incredible, I know to their core they're incredible, as John is incredible. He was actually run over by a large skid steer. It snapped his leg in half and crushed his dreams really of ever walking again, or so they thought. Now, over the next 12 months, he was confined to being bedridden and sponge bathed. He had multiple surgeries, told he wasn't going to walk again. And then, over a series of different treatments, he began walking again. And then that led into transforming his life in ways that I'm sure he didn't imagine back in 2006. I'm going to let him, I don't want to steal his thunder. I'm going to let him talk about how his life has changed. So without further ado, John Rampton, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thank you very much. Yeah, I would, man, those are not fun memories. Yeah, I got run over by a skidster trying to pay for college and hustling like we all do. And, when it ran me over, I was told then by multiple different doctors that I'd never walk again and that the life I had to accept. And I ended up meeting two wonderful doctors in different countries. And they were like, hey, we've been working with this. We think we can put you back together, do a little bit of stem cell and regrow part of the bone on your leg. And I elected for that. And, that taught me a lot along the way. One, to never give up. And there are things that you can't get around. And, when people say never give up, I'm the edge case for that. Mine just happened to be that I was young, growing, and I could sustain a lot of the treatments that they were putting on me. But it changed my life. I had 12 months where I couldn't walk and I had to figure out lots of things. I had surgery after surgery after surgery. I had a big bar up my entire leg. I had like pins going through and screws coming out everywhere. And it was not a fun moment in my life. But during that time, I learned online marketing. There was this thing called like the internet where people were starting to sell things online. This is 20 years ago. It was the new frontier and people were trying to sell things and I just figured better ways how to sell them. But I could dedicate 15 hours a day because I was just sitting in bed, was either that or watching a movie. And, at the time you had to get up to, I had a computer hooked up so I could like access things online to my TV. But, at the time you really had to get a DVD player. I know what's that? But, you had to get up, which I couldn't get up. If I got up, I had to get all the packs of ice off my leg and rearrange things and do this. I mean, I was peeing in a catheter into a bag. Like, I wasn't getting up to change the TV, what was on the TV. So I had to figure out, but, I had my little trusty laptop and figured out this whole internet world.
And so, where is internet marketing taking you today?
I mean, the internet marketing taking me today is just basically learning what I learned there and putting it online, which I learned, one, how to start a business, how to grow a business, how to work with other people. The internet isn't so different from the internet or life 20 years ago, just people have moved online and done things. It's still people convincing people to buy something, right? So getting people to the front door is like SEO or paid search or all these different ways of driving people to your website. And then once you get them, you still have to convert them to buy something or get them to purchase from you. So nowadays, I'm doing that for different companies that I'm a part of and figuring out different ways to sell online, whether that be through SEO, whether that be through affiliate marketing, influencer marketing, paid search, paid social, or direct relationships. Going in, forming different direct relationships and getting the products that I'm a part of or have started or have grown or have invested in, getting those in retail location.
So, you've given a lot. One thing that I want to pick up on is, you had experts, medical experts, telling you you would never walk again. And that was the consensus among these medical experts that you would never walk again.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that we hear all the time from different experts in the business world. You're going to hear experts that tell you cold emailing is dead. You're going to hear experts telling you that you can't do paid marketing in this industry, that this is impossible, that's impossible, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, and so forth. Yet at the same time, you'll find people who are making millions of dollars doing what everybody else said was impossible.
Right.
And I think that what your story on the medical side of things had to have transferred into your professional life. Do you feel comfortable sharing an example where somebody told you that something professionally was impossible and what you were able to do to then turn that into doing something that was, you know, seemingly crazy at the time?
Yeah. I mean, my leg is an easy example where I had, I believe it was 14 different doctors in a row tell me that I would never walk again. I'd be in a wheelchair or crutches, but I would never walk, let alone run, let alone do anything again. And I did a lot of research and I tested things out. I became an expert at my leg. The same in the marketing world. I've been told countless times paid search would not work and tried it and it's failed over and over and over and over. And then I got better and better and better. The same with the business world. What we always hear, out of how many businesses out of 10 fail, right? How many? How
9 out
many?
of 10. 9 out of 10
Nine
is what they say.
nine out of 10, right? Okay, let's go into the stats. Okay, that's 10%. That's 10% that are going to succeed. But what happens is, and what I tell people is fail fast. Fail as fast as you can because let's start another business, then another. It just means realistically, I need to start 10 businesses. And one of those is going to be actually pretty successful, right? And what they don't tell you on those is 9 out of 10 fail in the first 5 years. It doesn't mean they fail in the first 6 months or the first. They just are not scalable, or ultimately they chose the wrong thing or bet their chips on the wrong thing, or maybe they got in a lawsuit. Maybe their founder, the business partner that you went into decided that it wasn't the path for them and that causes the business to fail. 50% of marriages end in divorce. It's probably actually a little bit more, right? Could that be a reason some businesses fail is because it causes a lot of stress and those people get divorced and now this partner owns this and they force the downfall of that company? There's a lot of factors into it, but just keep going and keep going and keep going. I like recommending to people when you're going at business, every time you start a new business, you're going to fail in a million different ways, but you're going to get a little bit better and then a little bit more better, then a little bit better. And you're going to stop making some of the stupid mistakes. So, as a seasoned entrepreneur, that I've started so many countless businesses, it's ridiculous. I've had a lot of success, but I've also had a lot of failure. I've had a lot of companies that I've started that I ultimately I've failed at. But when I failed, I learned how to be a little bit more successful for the next round and the next round and the next round. And I think most entrepreneurs don't get that. And especially first entrepreneurs, first time entrepreneurs, when they fail, they think that they can't do it. No, you can't do what you were doing the same way. So let's stop making the same mistake, start something else, and keep going.
Business owners have a unique advantage that a lot of other people don't have. And that is that we can have data and we can have what's known as conscious competence. But with businesses, and we'll use your paid marketing as an example, many times with paid marketing, you'll get one segment of a business owner that tries it and they fail and they go, it doesn't work. But what they say is paid marketing doesn't work. But what I found over the years is it's never all of paid marketing that doesn't work. When you break it down into chunks, you realize that in most cases, most of the paid marketing is actually working, but there's pieces and parts of it that aren't working. My personal feeling, and you may disagree with me, is that the biggest cause for failure is twofold. Number one, people aren't looking in the right places for data. They're drawing incorrect conclusions. And number two, because of number one, they give up too early.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely agree with that. I put a few additional things in there. A lot of people fail, especially at online marketing, because there's other factors at play. that they're not considering. For example, you mentioned like your website. Your website could be going down. You could be like a lot of people set up ads and they're running ads and they don't realize ads run 24 hours a day. You want to run ads when your target demographic is online and purchasing, right? Some people start ads in the middle of the summer when they know seasonality. Some people run ads when their website's down. Some people run ads and 60% of their ads are running so effectively and doing so amazing. And the other 40% of ads are just the cost for the keyword is 3,000 times harder or more expensive than other people's ads or things like that. You know, it's the same with like I'll give a different analogy where I have failed essentially my entire life that has nothing to do with marketing. So my entire life I have struggled with weight. I've been a little bit overweight my entire life. And recently it's become very important to me, but I have been like 50 pounds overweight since I was probably like 17 years old, legitimately.
I wouldn't
And
have guessed that
no,
right now.
you wouldn't guess that. Like, right now, I'm 5'9", I'm 150 pounds, like, I'm doing great, right? But if you look back 2 years ago, I was 220, 230, and struggling with weight, right? And I would eat healthy, I would work out, I would go to the gym. I had one person that was like, "Your hormones are probably out of whack." So I went and did blood work, and I found out that I have amazing cholesterol. My cholesterol was 110, and my testosterone was like 960. Things are working really great, but then my ferritin levels and 3 other levels in my body were so out of whack. My ferritin was like a 460, and it's supposed to be like 100 and some odd. Like, it's optimal. So it's like I have the best engine on the earth for like processing things, but the oil inside my engine is like straight tar and it's not moving, which causes me to hold weight on.
Yeah.
And once I figured that out, one, the pounds just started shedding off, right? I started becoming optimal. I started doing this. I've changed a little bit on my eating habits because my body isn't craving those things that caused my body to move in different ways. I feel it's the exact same with online marketing and a few things. Sometimes we think we're doing everything. I had gone to the gym, no joke, for 3 years every day. And I'd been working out for an hour for every single day. But sometimes we have these websites, we have these products, we have these businesses that we are pushing so hard and we're pushing a boulder up a hill
Yeah.
and we can't see it. And we think that hiring this consultant is going to make the difference, and it doesn't. So we give up on that. Or we think that doing this one thing is going to make a difference, or doing that thing. But at some point, once you get those chemicals in your body and those things perfect, your body is going to be operating at a much higher and better level. The same with online marketing. It's the same in life. It's the same with your friendships. Some friendships are going to work really well, some are not, but some you're going to dial anything back and you're going to become a better version of yourself. And that's going to make your friendships, your relationships, your family, and things are going to start working. But you have to dial certain things up, dial things back, and try, test, test, test. Sorry, that's like diving into a lot of like life and stuff like that. But I found that when my life isn't better, when the oils are flowing better through my body, I'm in better shape. But when I'm focusing on things like when I dial certain things back with my wife, like conversations, I do things, but it's not necessarily that. It's when I frame things different in a conversation and I do things, my conversations with my wife are better.
No, well, you bring up a good point because look, how you do anything is how you do everything. The other thing is that, you know, there might be somebody who goes, well, what does this have to do with business? Well, we're intellectual athletes. So it does have a lot to do with business. When you wake up in the morning, are you able to make think sharp decisions? The quality of your decisions help to dictate exactly where you sit right now. So you're where you're at today because of your decisions. But your story actually reminds me of another story. I've shared this a few times in different podcasts, but a mentor of mine was sitting in an elevator. Meanwhile, a multi-billion-dollar real estate investor comes in and he's surrounded by his entourage. He didn't realize my mentor got pushed into the back of the elevator. And he's standing there and he's like, here's the project that we need to get done. My mentor was expecting him to outline everything that everybody needed to do and to like have a running to-do list. But he did something a little bit different. He said, what I need you to do is this: identify every reason that would stop, prevent, or otherwise slow us down from getting this stuff done, list it all out, and remove all of the constraints. So one of the boats, I mean, one of the houses, he has like 8 houses. One of his houses is on this boat. And so he had a bunch of millionaires and centimillionaires sitting around the breakfast table. And he asked them a question. He goes, this is what I observed. How many of you approach things in a similar way? And they all said, like, yeah, you remove the constraints and you'll get where you want so much easier and so much faster. And when we talk about business, many times it's always trying to, like you said, push a boulder uphill, push a boulder uphill. I'm about to tell you a story that I'm actually really embarrassed that I almost don't want to tell you because it's actually so embarrassing. We're running paid ads ourselves in August, and the numbers were garbage. And we know better. What the heck is going on? It took me until October. This is so embarrassing. It took me until October to realize that none of the buttons worked on our mobile site. So, as much as people were coming to our website, they couldn't do anything about it because the mobile buttons weren't working. I could have drawn the conclusion that paid advertising doesn't work for us, but instead, we had to go through our diagnostic process.
Which in all fairness, it doesn't work for you when other parts of your business are not set up properly. Going to fail. And this was another part of your business, which just so happened to be the first part of your business. I think so many people just in life think that when they do something, if it doesn't work first shot, that it never works. And that's in a lot of things. That's in paid ads, that's in affiliate, that's in lots of other things. Now, that being said, it might not work.
And it might not. Everything works and nothing works at the same time. And I'm like, that's exactly what it is. But the difference between those saying who didn't work and those who did, it usually comes down to going through and looking at the finer details. So let's look at the digital marketing landscape and whatnot. Man, a lot has changed over the last few years, especially since started back in 2006, seven, thereabouts. Lots has changed. And the rate of change is moving faster than ever before. Where do you see the next 12 months?
Oh, the next 12 months. Well, with the introduction of a lot more AI tools and AI, things are definitely ramping up. And over the next 12 months, most of those will be flushed out to probably, per industry, probably like 3 to 5 really good tools per industry. And we're just going to have to sift through that. So if I'm spending money on tools, I would look for industry specific tools, tools that are working specifically for you and your edge case and try them out. Don't get too ingrained, too deep in them. I think a lot of these tools are going to fail. I think the whole landscape's going to change, but there's going to be emerging, 5 to 10 companies per industry, per vertical as well, that are going to really stand out, that are going to take your business, take most from a marketing perspective, most of your marketing efforts, centralize them in one place and make it a lot easier to scale your business and make it a better for your consumer, which I love.
Are there any particular AI tools that you're using now that you're a fan of?
I mean, there's a lot of them. I really like BuzzSumo. It gives a full integrated landscape. There's another one called Opus Clip that's a pretty cool little tool. Another one called Article that's freaking cool little tool. Man, there's a bunch of them, but it's TBD right now.
Yeah, for sure. So, how many businesses would you say you either own or own fully or partially as an investor?
I mean, we have probably like 5 or 6 different businesses that we own a large majority stake in, slash, I'm a partner in. And then we've invested in legitimately hundreds of other companies.
And so, with hundreds of companies that you're either partial or majority owner in, what have you noticed? How has a buying behavior changed over the last few years?
Buying behavior, most of the companies, I will say, I'll dig into the successful companies, not just the companies, because I've invested in a lot and a lot have failed, right? The ones that have succeeded have been so customer centric and customer focused. They are so hyper focused on doing what's best for the customer. Those are the ones that are very, very successful. the founders have like this attention to detail and they're not trying to be everything to everybody. What happens is people are very happy with the product, but people inevitably leave those companies and go start other companies or go work for other companies in similar spaces. And they love your product and they bring that product along and then it expands and expands and expands.
Gotcha.
Focus on your customer.
I was, believe it or not, I was just watching Steve Jobs' 2007 Mac World keynote. Here's the thing that it got me thinking. Way back a number of years ago, it was 2:25 in the morning, and I set my alarm to get up because I wanted to make sure that I was ready to buy the newest iPhone that was released at midnight
Yeah.
Pacific Standard Time.
Yep.
And as I'm standing there, my wife did the same thing. We had to be careful not to wake up the kids. I'm thinking to myself, as marketers, we spend so much time trying to figure out the right button color, the headline, the offer, all this other crazy stuff. And freaking Steve Jobs, or Apple rather, has me setting my alarm at 2:25 in the morning, and I keep refreshing the screen so that when it goes live, I can scroll down and bang that buy button so fast to be the first one to get it. He's not offering me a discount, not offering me any special bonuses or anything else. I know I'm actually paying a premium price, and yet I'm doing it. Tomorrow morning, there are people that are going to be lined up miles to try to get their hands on the phone. What is he doing that I'm not? And so that was way back then, and I was watching it again as a good reminder. To your point, John, what Steve Jobs was masterful at was being so customer centric. He understood their problems so well that when he spoke to people, there was a natural fit. People were like, "Yes, you get me." So when he presented the offer, there wasn't a lot of hype and, the whole deal. He was like, "Look, and here's the solution." So it felt like it was just like fitting a puzzle, right? Two puzzle pieces together. There was no part of Steve Jobs' presentation that felt like a sales pitch. It was just a natural fit. But we look at so many people today and there's this rah, 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 the whole big, because they don't spend enough time understanding the customer. Instead, they take the other approach, which is what needs to happen for me to drive more sales? How do we drive more sales? Let's make stronger offers. Let's drive price discounts. Let's do this and that, because they don't do what you just said.
They'll sit and hammer advertising, SEO, all this, but if at the end of the day, if you don't have a good product, it's not going to go anywhere.
So, this is a Beyond Seven Figures podcast. What would you say is your biggest, best piece of advice for our listeners that want to take their business beyond seven figures?
This may seem also another random one, but I have hired a lot of very, very influential people in my life. Sometimes I'll go to the best people out there and I'll be like, hey, how much for 2 hours of your time or 8 hours of your time? And I'll hire them for one day and I'll bring them into my team. And sometimes we paid one person $8,000 for a day, but he's like, yeah, I charge $8,000. It's all going to be over Zoom. Well, guess what? For 8 hours, I paid him $1,000 an hour. Great. I got world class and we recorded everything, but we had the best expert in the entire world give one-on-one training to 3, 4 members of our team. And yes, it was very expensive. But at the same time, we could have paid consulting. Those people do it over and over and over. And that person is still in our life, still a friend, still this. I would say invest very heavily in your team and hire the best individuals out there to train your team. Don't just have a trainer who's okay. Hire the best out there, actually spend the money, do that because you'll get a lot better results and a lot quicker results than you will with anything else.
I love that.
That is honestly how I went from 6 figures to 7 figures to 8 figures to now one of our business is 9 figures. So is hiring experts and hiring the best of the best. And now we try and fly them in. We try and do this. We've made it so that we can create situations for those people. Oh, it's meant the world to our businesses.
What you just said is such common sense. But if we look at the track of entrepreneurship, starts as your solo entrepreneur. And then they're like, oh, I need help. So I'm going to go to Upwork or Fiverr. And then eventually they're like, I'm going to hire, a subcontractor.
Yeah.
And then they say, I'm going to hire a whole bunch of subcontractors. And then they realize at some level that a subcontractor really is just in it for themselves. They're not necessarily in it as part of the culture to grow your business. They go like it's a different type of relationship. And so the ROI on a subcontractor isn't as great. And then they go, all right, I'm going to hire my first employee, but I am going to spend the least amount of money for somebody that I am smarter than them. So it's like I'm smarter than them, but I'm going to hire them for the least amount of money.
Yeah.
And then they
I
get
like being the dumbest person in the room. I'm totally cool with it.
exactly. It's not until later that you begin to realize, well, wait a minute. Now I need to spend more money, get better talent, get better talent. Then at some point, you say, you know what? I am only going to hire the people that are smarter than me in that particular role. And that sounds exactly like what you've done.
Say I would also put out there when hiring people, I wanna hire better people and pay them more rather than hiring less people, like lesser people,
Yeah.
and you'll get 3 times like, it's 1 person will do the job of 10.
Yeah. I completely get that.
Not going on the Elon Musk thing, but Elon Musk went into Twitter and shaved down the company 90%. And now agree or disagree, the company is still running on 10% of its staff. Now, what those people are doing, initiatives, there's a lot of negatives there, right? But I do agree with the premise behind it that the cream of the crop tend to stand out. And I'd rather take those people and pay them 30, 40, 50% more and incentivize them a lot higher in order to be better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that was an awesome example that you gave just there. So let's say people want to learn more about you and the work that you do. Where do we send them?
Just johnrampton.com. That's my personal website. I'm also the CEO of calendar.com. We own a productivity software. You can also connect with me online. I'm on LinkedIn, just slash John Rampton, Twitter at John Rampton, Instagram at John Rampton, all of them. So love to connect online.
Awesome. Well, I tell you, John is a smart dude. I highly encourage that you follow him on all the different social platforms and also on his website at johnrampton.com. Really intelligent guy. As I mentioned, when my other friend, John Hall, says there's somebody I have to meet that is a super, super special guy, I knew that John Rampton was that guy. And so, John, it's a pleasure to have you here on the Beyond Seven Figures podcast. As a reminder to our guests, if you're looking to take your business over the next level, also check us out at predictableprofits.com. Again, that's predictableprofits.com. This is Charles Gadet with my new friend John Rampton, and I will see you in another episode.